of shadows.
Hi my angels, it's Haley Reese and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited that you guys are here and I hope that you are having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you when this video finally reaches you. Today's video, you guys, is absolutely chilling. I was just recently talking about how movies to do with possession and exorcisms scare the daylights out of me, and I'm actually somebody who doesn't get too scared where movies are concerned, and that's when one of you guys brought to my attention an experience about The Boy Who Cried Demon, which, yes, as I'm sure you're wondering, is very similar to The Boy Who Cried Wolf. So I'm sure you can see where this story is heading. And after hearing it, I couldn't shake it. And whenever I find cases or experiences that I can't shake, I always bring them here to my channel to share with you guys, because why not all be freaked out together, right? No, I'm kidding, but I really do enjoy sharing these experiences and stories with you guys. Before we get into today's video though, I would just very quickly like to thank today's video sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. You can explore new skills, develop existing interests, and just overall get completely lost in creativity. Now, I've taken quite a few courses on Skillshare, especially over the last year, as I'm sure you could understand why. Like for an example, I took a class on podcasting before I launched my podcast. I also took a course on how to keep houseplants alive because, well, I need help with that. And I've recently been getting into a new class. Recently, I've really enjoyed the class Productivity for Creatives, Build a System That Brings Out Your Best by Thomas Frank, because I want to become much more productive than I currently am. Creative challenges and productivity classes can be a great way to help you structure your time and set attainable goals. And something that I really love about Skillshare is their wide selection of courses. So whatever it is that you're looking to dive into, Skillshare will have a class/course for you. Whether you're looking to fend off boredom or focus on self-care through creativity, or even just join a similarly creative community, Skillshare is the place to keep you learning. The first 1,000 people to click the link down in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership, and then after that, it's just around $10 a month. So make sure that you guys click the link down below so you're within the first 1,000 people and get creative. And thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. But without further ado, let's get into this experience because it is absolutely chilling. So as I was saying early on in this video, recently I was posting about the fact that I love scary movies. I really truly do, but there are only two types of scary movies that actually freak me out and occasionally give me nightmares, so to speak. And that's if they're done well, of course, but that is home invasion/kidnapping movies and possessions/exorcism movies. I actually did a video here on my channel a little while back on The Exorcism of Emily Rose, the movie, the true story behind it, and that movie, you guys, gave me the actual heebie-jeebies and like borderline nightmares. Like, it freaked me out, and then when I dove into the true story behind it, it freaked me out even more. So recently, I actually received a lengthy email from one of you guys detailing an experience of The Boy Who Cried Demon. And after reading it, I just couldn't shake it. And whenever I hear an experience or a case that I can't shake, the very first thing that I want to do is come on here and share it with you guys and get your guys' thoughts, opinions, and theories on it. So with that being said, that is what we are going to do today. Sit back, relax, maybe turn a light on, because we are about to get into a very, very eerie experience. So this story begins with a 9-year-old little boy named Rory. Now, Rory's parents were divorced, which makes a lot of sense when you dive into this story because they were very different. It was actually explained in the message about them that they were just so opposite that even when they were getting married, people on both of their sides of the family were like, "Are you guys sure about this? You guys are very, very different." And ultimately, they did wind up divorcing, so I guess their family was on to something there. But Rory's mom was very spiritual, really into an awakening. She enjoyed horror movies as well, but she knew the truth behind them and was just really into her spirituality. Rory's dad, on the other hand, loved anything gory and horror and dark and twisted, and he was just really into some creepy stuff. He was like a horror movie fanatic, so to speak. But he didn't really believe that it was real. He just enjoyed it, if that makes sense. So Rory had two very different parents to be raised by. Now Rory's mom, as I mentioned, because she was so spiritual, movies about like possession and exorcism and things of that nature were never anything that she wanted to expose Rory to. So while the two of them were still together, like Rory's parents, she wouldn't let Rory's dad watch those like dark movies whenever Rory was awake, because Rory always wanted to watch what they wanted to watch. And so it was like a rule in the household that he would have to watch that after dark when Rory was sleeping. But as goes in most situations when parents divorce, they have their own homes, thus their own rules, and eventually Rory was watching some really dark demonic exorcism movies while he was at his dad's house. Now his mom's first thought that something was going on that she wouldn't approve of while he was over at his dad's house was the vocabulary that Rory had kind of started to change when he would come back from his dad's house, and he would talk about like violent things in the sense that like when he was playing with his action figures, he'd be far more violent with them. And she was starting to question what Rory was exposed to while he was there. Now, I do want to give this quick disclaimer. Rory's dad is not a bad dad whatsoever. He was just one of those dads, or he is just one of those dads, I guess, who's like, yeah, you can watch it, buddy, but like, you know, don't have nightmares about it. He didn't do it to be malicious. He wasn't a violent human being. He was just somebody who enjoyed those types of movies. And I know people that do. I mean, look at the Saw franchise. That is gruesome. I hated the Saw movies. I think I watched like 2 of them and I didn't like it. It was gruesome. But some people are into that. So I do just want to say that very quickly. But anyways, yeah, he would come home from his dad's house and he would start acting just like very different. But when she would question her ex-husband on what they were doing, he basically said, I'm not putting our son in harm's way, and what we choose to watch and do at my home is my prerogative, so to speak. So this went on for a little while, and they actually started to get the co-parenting thing down. His mom kind of became more relaxed when it came to what they did when they were over there, and things seemed to be going well, until one night, Rory started acting very strange. He started telling his mom that a demon was around and that the demon wanted to possess him, and that Rory was telling the demon that he could possess him because he thinks it would be so cool. Well, obviously, because she's so spiritual, this freaked her right on out. She started telling Rory that that's not something to joke around about, that's not something to say, cut it out. And Rory came back at her saying, I'm not joking around about this. There is a demon around and this demon wants me and I'm allowing it. And so her mom had a sit down meeting with her ex-husband, Rory, and herself. And they said, look, you're not going to be allowed to watch any of these things anymore. If you're going to joke around like this, it's not funny. But Rory was adamant that there truly was a demon around him and that he was going to allow the demon to possess him because he thinks it would be cool. This is a 9-year-old little boy, guys. But anyways, so this is a little bit concerning, and the dad actually agreed, yeah, maybe that's a little bit too much scary movies for him. I'm not gonna allow him to watch them with me anymore. I'll save it for when he's not at my house. But it almost seems as though it was perhaps a little bit too late. So at this point, both of his parents were in agreement that no more watching the scary movies, no more of the gory movies, no more of the possession movies, that it was clearly getting to his head a little bit, and maybe he was a little bit too young to be watching them. But as time goes on, he keeps talking about this demon around him, this demon that is attached to him and wants him. And when his mom says, why do you call it a demon? His responses were pretty disturbing. Like, he was acting as though he really believed it was this demon. But remember, his mom is very spiritual, and she said that she got the vibe her son was lying. She didn't feel anything in the home. She frequently smudged the home, and she knew that if she was cleansing the house and it was a demon, that would just aggravate it, and it didn't seem to do so. So she thought that her kid was just trying to get a rise out of her, and she actually started to ignore the behavior. She thought that if she didn't give it the attention that he wanted, that eventually he'd get over the bit and things would go back to normal. But he kept on doing this. He kept pretending he was talking with a demon. He kept saying, I'm possessed, and acting weird and spinning his head weird. He was basically just embodying what somebody would mock a possession with, if that makes any sense. But as we've talked about for a long time here on my channel, intention is everything. Vibration is everything. When you knock on the door of the paranormal or the unknown, you don't know what's going to answer. And so before we continue into The Boy Who Cried Demon, let's get a little recap on The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Once upon a time, in a beautiful village near lush rolling hills, there was a boy who watched over the village's sheep. Being alone up in the hills was very boring. To liven up his day, the boy thought it would be fun to scare the villagers and scream, "Wolf! Wolf!" The villagers grabbed whatever they could and ran up the hill to scare off the wolf. When they reached the top, they realized that they had been tricked by the mischievous little boy. He laughed and laughed until the villagers angrily walked away back down the hill. Even the sheep were not amused. The boy continued to call wolf, and the villagers warned him that the next time they would no longer believe him. The boy shrugged off the warning and laid down for a nap. One lazy afternoon, the boy heard a terrible sound. Before he could even prepare himself, a wolf appeared right before him and was chasing all of the village's sheep. The boy screamed, "Wolf, wolf," but having lied so many times, the people of the village just ignored him. With no one to help him fend off the wolf, the sheep ran away and the boy was left crying on the hill. Now that's actually a much nicer version than I remember when I was a kid. I think I remember the boy actually got eaten by the wolf, but regardless, nobody believed him and nobody showed up when it became real, when he actually manifested a wolf. And unfortunately for Rory, it would be a very similar experience. As I mentioned, eventually his mom just chose not to believe him and not to entertain him, but what she didn't know yet was that in trying to play this game, in talking to what he was pretending was a demonic force and saying verbally that it was allowed to take control of him, he actually brought forth a demonic and dark entity into his existence and into his reality, and things took a very dark turn. His mom noted that Rory became very disconnected. He was very spacey, and when she would try to get his attention, he was very angry and very quick to react. He was starting to become more and more withdrawn and more angry and violent. And she said at one point during dinner, she told him that he had to finish his food, and his face got all red and his eyes turned black before her. He started threatening his mom in ways that he would never, and day after day, he became less and less like himself. And that was when his mom decided to look into it further and discovered that he had actually formed a demonic attachment because of the games that he was playing. And when Rory would come to, he would start crying, saying that he wasn't kidding this time, that before he was, but now he wasn't, and he was scared and he was absolutely terrified. And they actually had to have an exorcism of sorts, not an actual exorcism because it wasn't within him yet, but she had to call in professionals to come and cleanse and hopefully heal her son. And she said it took months, absolute months, to get this cleared, and that there's still a dark ambiance in their home at times to this day. And now she's told everybody, including the person who emailed me this story, in hopes of reminding people that when you play these games or when you're calling upon things, you don't know what could come. And yes, it was a 9-year-old boy, but in my opinion, that just made him all the more vulnerable. He was young and he didn't know what he was messing with. Luckily, Rory has made a full recovery. The only thing they've noticed is, as I mentioned, there's some sort of like a dark ambiance in their home at times. And whenever they feel that, they were instructed on ways to cleanse their home to keep that negativity out. But one thing that I want to note about this particular experience is demons require permission to enter. They require permission for entry. And because he was joking around and granting said demon the ability to come into his space, and better yet, his body, a demon took advantage of that. Because once that energy is out, you get back what you give. And while not everybody who does this would have an experience like this, it's terrifying to think that there are people who think it is a game and it ends badly. I've never looked at The Boy Who Cried Wolf in a way that he manifested a wolf, but looking at it now as an adult, like when I was a kid, I was always told the story of The Boy Who Cried Wolf as far as lying goes. Like when you're lying and you're lying and you're lying, it's gonna get to a point where nobody believes you, and if you really need their help or if you really need them to believe you, that's gonna be a very difficult situation for you to find yourself in. But looking at it as an adult now with like the spiritual knowledge that I have, it almost seems as though perhaps he kept crying wolf to the point where nobody believed him, but in crying wolf, he manifested a wolf and nobody was there to help him. And so much like that, that's what happened to Rory. Rory kept manifesting and calling forth a demon as a joke, trying to scare people around him. And when one actually came, it took longer for anybody to believe him. And honestly, I think that if his mom hadn't been spiritual, who knows how long it would have went on and what would have happened to Rory. So that is basically the story of the boy who cried demon. I would love to know what you guys think of this. Do you think he manifested it? Do you think it's just because he was calling upon something? Or do you think maybe there was one there from the very beginning? One thing that I do want to say is that when Rory would come to it, he would say flat out, I was lying before, but this time I'm not. So I'd love to know from you guys, do you think he was never lying, or do you think he was lying and then he actually brought something forth? Let me know it down in the comments below. I absolutely love to read your guys' comments, and that is it for today's video. Once again, I would just love to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. As I mentioned, there is a link in my description box for the first 1,000 people to get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So make sure you guys click that so you're within the first 1,000. And thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring. If you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, I would seriously love it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, I love you.